What's up, guys? It's Hot Wheels Tournaments, and it is time for the 2024 Matchbox preview here on my channel. I do this every year as I attend the Matchbox gathering every year, and you guys love it. So let's get going with 2024. The big news for this year, Matchbox is trying to expand in European markets, so they're starting to do more European vehicles, which is very cool. As for overall, it looks really promising. Maybe too many SUVs for my liking, but we'll cross those bridges when we come to them. Also, the EV mandate is gone, which means less EVs and more unique stuff, and I'm all for that, so let's get into it. Let's start with the mainline new models, and I'm going to skip ahead to the middle of the case because I want to lead off the video talking about this car because it is by far the one I am most excited for. The Toyota Supra MK5, a stock Supra MK5, is coming to one of the Mattel brands. I'd always hoped it would be Matchbox. Matchbox has my heart, and here it is announced here for 2024. We have some first shots of it thanks to my friend Ezra for the convention, who was lucky enough to do the showcase for the Lamley group. And actually, since John Lambert wasn't there, he got to see him, so we sent over some photos. I'm so hyped for this one. This is one I asked Abe just a couple of weeks before the gathering. I'm like, dude, you need to make this model. Turns out he already had it ready to go and queued up for 2024. So I'm so excited. These stock images, it's in kind of the second stage of production. I'm going to guess by this time next year, it will be out, but I am personally so excited for it. Maybe a nice red color with those 5-spoke wheels I think would look fantastic. I hope you guys are excited as I am, but I think that is going to be the heavy hitter of next year's lineup, and I cannot wait to see it. Anyways, after that long-winded spiel, it is time to take a look at the first new EV model for 2024 on the main line. That is the Volkswagen Golf GTE. Not sure how popular this is going to be. I'll pick one up for my collection. It looks good. My concerns are is we just have a Golf in a very similar silhouette and look. It is a two-door, though, not a four-door, so this is a little bigger. Also, EVs tend to peg warm a little bit more, but it is a Golf, and people do love the Golf. It has a big cult following, so it could be very popular. Staying in Germany, we move on to Porsche. We're getting two, not one, but two Porsche 911s from the most current generation. These will join the Carrera 4S in completing the trio of base 911s. We are getting the Targa, which unfortunately is going to have to be top up. Obviously, the Targa has that iconic silhouette when it is in its convertible top-down form, but due to the four-piece rule and some issues, they couldn't find a way to get the windows to work to give it that iconic silhouette, so it'll be top up with a tampoed roof. We are also getting the Cabriolet in convertible form, so very cool that we're getting the trio to join that Carrera 4S from Moving Parts. I thought these looked a little small in the case. I don't have anything to reference them to, though, so that's nothing to be concerned about right now. I just hope that they are in proper scale to that Carrera 4S, which I'm sure Abe used to draw his design cues from, as he just recently did that. But very excited about these. They look fantastic and should be fantastic. Moving on from the Porsches, you can see the European push continues to take effect. Personally, that's something I'm not going to complain about because we're getting a classic Jag in the XJ6. Matchbox and Jaguar have had a very successful relationship in the past. We have the fantastic and iconic E-Type. We got the F-Type about 7 or 8 years ago. We've also seen the fantastic XK in the 2000s. So they've always done great Jags, and now we're getting a more retro one in the XJ6. Don't know a lot about the car, what it looks like. I don't know a lot about classic Jags, but it does look cool. It is some welcome diversity to the lineup, and I'm very excited to see how this one turns out. Moving back over stateside, we get the Lincoln Continental. I believe the year on this one is 1964. Now, this is not something that is in my wheelhouse or something that I am interested in, but for those that are, this looks like it is going to be a great casting. First off, I don't know if the pictures do it justice, but this casting is an absolute behemoth, just as the car is in real life. It is wide and it is exceptionally long, so very cool for Matchbox. We've seen them throw it back to these 60 cars often. The Buick Riviera comes to mind. This is right in that wheelhouse as well, and it looks great. And now we're going to return back to that Euro push. We now have Mercedes entering the mix with the 1963 SL. We got the modern new generation SL this year in the main line, and now a 60s version is going to be returning to the main, or not returning, but entering the main line this year. I guess you could say returning. Apparently, this is a Lesney throwback. I don't collect that era of Matchbox, so I wouldn't know, but I'm sure some older collectors or people who do throwback and collect that old stuff are going to be very, very happy. Staying in Germany with more European cars, we now have the Opel Astra. Now, Opel is a brand we've seen Matchbox use before. I think most famously, the casting you would recognize is the Speedster, which is a relatively good casting from the early 2000s. We haven't really seen much from the brand, though, but with this new European fix, they're going to now go ahead and bring Opel back, and we get the Astra. Admittedly, this is a brand I don't know much about because they are largely European exclusive. You hear them also called Vauxhall in Great Britain, so this will be a great chance, I think, to bring in some European collectors. I'll gladly learn more about the Opel brand, but this is probably a car that is going to peg warm here in the United States. Following that up, we then get the replacement or the updated tooling. I'm not sure exactly what it is for the Ford Interceptor. I believe the year on this one is 2023. Some people had problems with the old one, apparently. I personally always thought it was a fine casting. I don't have every version, but it's in a licensed deco. It looks really nice. So I'm not going to complain about an updated version. Always something we could use. The police cars from Matchbox are a staple and look great. I've always enjoyed the Interceptor, so an updated version, absolutely awesome in my book. The American collectors will get another car here with the 1963 Corvette. Now, this is the only mainline new model that is not actually going to appear in the mainline. This is going to appear in one of the Walmart exclusive sets, which basically have the $1 mainline cars just with different card art and sometimes exclusive deco. This one is going to be exclusive to, I believe, a Corvette set. So very cool. I think people are going to be happy about this one. It helps move product. It helps those sets sell. Looks good so far. And now we have our yearly out of left field choice. Every year there is one Matchbox new model that comes out of absolutely, like, completely nowhere. Like, you haven't heard of it, or you have heard of it, but you never expect to see in 1/64th form or Matchbox do it. This year it is the Radical SR8, which is a company that specializes in making, like, just race cars. That's what they do. I had never heard of them, so after hearing about them at the gathering and seeing my friend John get really excited about it, I had to go down the rabbit hole, and yeah, this is really, really cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is an awesome choice. It's already, I think, going to bring in some new fans and new collectors because there is a specific group of people who love Radical. David Land, who is a very famous IndyCar fan and YouTuber, commented on my Instagram post about the Radical. So fantastic choice from Matchbox, fantastic marketing from Matchbox. I hope they execute this one really well. Hard to tell because it's still in that 3D print stage though. And now we're getting into some of those SUVs I was talking about. And here's the deal with SUVs. I think there's a few too many. I'll explain why. Some of them are really cool and really awesome choices. Some of them suck. This is one of the ones I really love. This is the Infiniti QX80. Why do I love it? Because it's the big flagship SUV for Infiniti. It is absolutely massive. It is their peak of luxury as far as the Infiniti SUV line goes. If you're gonna do an SUV, do the big absolute mothership looking ones. Do these absolute mammoths. These are the SUVs I dig. So I'm happy to see the QX80. I'm also happy to see the Infiniti license is still around. Hopefully we can start doing some more cool stuff with that. But yes, this is an SUV choice I like and I think will be really, really cool, especially if Matchbox does it big and beefy like it is. And continuing on with that flagship SUV theme, we have the Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Honestly, another pick I'm very excited about. I don't get excited about Jeeps. I don't care about them. I know Matchbox and Jeep have a great working relationship, but a lot of models are just to me. Renegade. But this is one that makes a lot of sense. I think is really cool in real life. I've always thought it looks a little weird. The front is very modern. The back is just looks bad to me compared to the front. But I love the front of the car. It's big. It's beefy. Again, I like the flagship SUVs. This one makes a ton of sense. I'm happy to see it. It was only a matter of time, in all honesty. And who do we have to thank all these SUVs? Why, of course, it's the Ford Bronco. I know I said I like flagship SUVs, but don't like the other ones. Well, I'm totally okay with old school 70s Ford Broncos, the original SUVs being made. This is much needed in the lineup after seeing the modern Broncos get made. The only old school one we had really was the old 4x4, which is just blah, just not great. So to get a classic stock Bronco, this thing looks really good so far. Already in metal with plastic base, meaning we'll see it early in 2024. This is one I'm excited about, and I think a lot of other people will be too. From there, we got our only unlicensed new model for 2024, and it is an updated Tuk Tuk for the Indiana Jones 4 movie. So this is part of the marketing with Indiana Jones they're now doing. Cool to see the new Tuk Tuk. It's got a rip in the roof, which I thought was neat. So yeah, and then from there, we get a Ducati bike, which is also an Indiana Jones new model. I don't really care about motorcycles, so I didn't bother to reach this at all. If you love Indiana Jones or, you know, you love motorbikes, this is for you. But not for me, not my cup of tea. And from there, we move to a classic pickup casting in the 1968 Chevy C10. This is absolutely awesome to see. Every year, it seems like the classic pickup they make is just some other year of the El Camino or the Ford Ranchero, and they just alternate. And those are cool cars, but when you're getting a new one of them every year, they get very boring very fast. So I'm super happy to see the C10 getting some love. Even though it's not particularly a style, you know, I don't particularly love trucks or classic trucks, but a square body C10, welcome in the lineup. I will absolutely pick up the first edition. From there, we go in the complete opposite direction. We have a electric SUV, the Citron EC4, which I have to say I'm not really excited about at all. This is either the exact same car or very similar to the moving parts Citron that we're getting this year, which is, you know, a fine casting and kind of a cool choice. But do we need a second mainline version that's an SUV? This just seems boring to me, and I get they're trying to do more European cars, but there's got to be cooler stuff than this. I don't know. I'm a hater. I've loved most of the choices this year. This one is just whatever to me. I'll still pick a version up because I'm sure it's going to look great because all their SUVs always look great. They're always just spot on to what the real car is. But yeah, this is an car. And then we go back to old school SUV, and real quick, if you haven't noticed, these are all the models that did not have a mock-up ready to go. So these are probably going to be the ones we see later in the year. We get an 80s Pathfinder. So yeah, that's cool. That's a unique choice. Again, SUV, maybe not exciting, but when it's an 80s SUV that no other diecast company would ever do, and this is probably your only chance to get one in a 1/64 scale, hell yeah, that is sweet. So yeah, Nissan Pathfinder coming to the 2024 mainline. That's pretty cool. That's pretty fun. Yeah, this is one to get excited about. From there, we get another SUV, the Mercedes-Benz EQB. And while they didn't have to do as many electric vehicles as they have the past couple of years, it still seems like they had to do a few. This is one that I much rather would have been the GLS, which is like the current flagship SUV outside of the G-Wagon, but I don't count the G-Wagon because that's like its totally own thing. So I would have preferred this to be the GLS, but you know, if you're going to do a Mercedes EV, the EQB makes the most sense. It's the least similar to other castings, other Mercedes they've done. So this one's fine. I land right in the middle on this one. It could have been cooler, but it's still a big-bodied SUV. It's not, you know, the weird crossovers or shrunk-down versions like some of the other cars are. So, yeah, I like this more than, like, the Mach-E or the ID4 the last couple years. We're also going to be getting a Ford Fiesta MK2 this year, and this is one that makes a lot of sense with some of the stuff they've done recently. They just recently did the older generations of Golf. I think they did the MK1 for the Golf. They did the original Civic. I believe they did the first Civic ever. So, you know what? If you're going to do the tiny hatchbacks or those tiny little cars, yeah, the Ford Fiesta has to make an appearance. The MK2 is a good choice. This will be really cool. I'm sure it'll be well executed. It'll be properly to scale. I really like this red color, so I hope it appears in that. But yeah, I'm a fan of this choice. I like it. And then from there, we get another really cool choice. We get a 1964 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. So we're getting the new, like, Ultra version. I don't know if, you know, that doesn't make any sense. But we're getting the new giant, you know, mega SUV version. And we're getting the classic, you know, Cars and Coffee version. This thing looks incredible in this picture. Wow. I hope that has a VUM base. That cream color is really pretty. Cream color, chrome base, my God, what could go wrong with that? Some disc wheels on it. Mwah. I can already see this one being a classic. And for the last mainline new model, until we get to the moving parts and premium new models, I'm going to be a hypocrite here. This is typically the type of model I would shit on and say, why are we making these mid-size SUVs? Nobody cares. But it's an Alfa Romeo, and I love Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo is one of my favorite car brands, so the fact that we're getting an Alfa Romeo Tonale gets me fired up, and it is one of my most hyped new models for 2024, even though I said this is the exact type of SUV I hate. But I'm a hypocrite, and I love Alfa Romeos, so I don't care. You can't stop me. I am very excited for this one. Anyways, we end it there for the 2024 new models. That was everything that was announced for the main line. The $1 basic line, we now move to moving parts, which is the best line Matchbox is doing, or any die-cast company is doing right now, in my opinion. They started off with the Porsche Taycan Porsche Taycan GTS Sport Turismo. Name's kind of a mouthful, but this is really cool. Hot Wheels did a great Taycan a few years back. Now we're getting the GTS version, which is absolutely awesome. Matchbox, as I mentioned earlier in this video, has been on fire with Porsches lately. The Porsche set they did for Walmart exclusives this year was great. The Carrera 4S in moving parts was great, so fantastic to have this in moving parts. We follow that up with an iconic 1992 Buick Roadmaster. Look, there's only one way to do this model for its first edition, and that is with wood side paneling. Everything else is just a missed opportunity and a crime against humanity. It will look that way, I'm sure. A lot of people into niche stuff, some of the people I know are very excited about this. This one will be cool for sure. We move on then to the Opal Maca. I hope I'm saying that right. One of these mid-size SUVs that I just am so on. Again, I'm sure this will be fantastically executed. Matchbox absolutely crushes the SUVs. I'm getting a little tired of them at this point. They peg warm a lot too, and especially an Opal I think is going to do that. So am I a little bit tired and annoyed of them? Sure. Is it going to be an absolutely fantastic model that is well executed that I'm going to buy? Also, yes. From there, we're getting the big Mercedes electric SUVs. So BMW is going to match with the BMW iX, so their big burly electric SUV. I'm a little more on this one because of the other options that were available. I get it. Electric vehicles are still trying to do a few. BMW had great options. The i4 I thought was a lock for this year. I thought we were going to see it. We've seen the i8. We've seen the i3. The i4 made so much sense. No one's done it. Matchbox doesn't really have an M4 or 4 Series BMW, and they did the iX, which is a bummer. The i7 is more niche, but a big luxury like sedan saloon would have been so cool. But again, they go with the iX. So this is cool. It's a burly flagship SUV, but man, it just feels like a missed opportunity to do something that would have been at least cooler for me. I'm not saying it would have been cooler for everyone, but yeah, that's what I would have liked to have done. But you know what? This will be well executed. We follow that up with the Nissan Town Store, which is a pretty whatever choice in my opinion. I think most people will agree, but it's getting super cool rear sliding doors. Gosh, that is a tongue twister for whatever reason, but it's getting the rear opening doors that slide. This will be the second model to sport those. The Mercedes Sprinter van is doing it that year, so for that reason, it's a little bit cooler. What an awesome moving part to have on an otherwise boring car. We're getting an old C10 in the main line, and we're getting a slightly less old C10 in moving parts. The 1995 Chevy C10 with an opening hood is coming to the moving parts line. I like this choice. I always kind of like this style of truck that's in the weird era before they got super stylized in the 2000s and, you know, aren't quite old school square body from like the 70s and 60s and are just in this weird in between. And that 90s era pickup always looks like that. So yeah, I'm a fan of this one. We then get another completely out of left field choice. This is the Bizzarino Strata5300 GT. This is something I had no idea was a thing until the convention and they announced this car. Honestly, when they showed it on screen and they showed the sizzle, I thought it was a Ferrari. I was like, oh my God, Ferrari's back and they're going to use Matchbox to break it. No, that's not the case, but turns out my reasoning was pretty spot on. The Bizzarini company was founded and this car was designed by an ex-chief engineer at Ferrari, so it basically is a Ferrari, just without Ferrari badging in a way. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Apparently it used to be an old Matchbox, but I do think this is kind of like a funny middle finger to Ferrari to be like, we can't make your die-cast, but we'll make all the old stuff your die-cast or your car engineers designed. So cool. I'm very excited for this one. We move from there to another totally awesome car. This is the Harry Potter Ford Angela. I wasn't super, hyped about the Indiana Jones partnership, but I love Harry Potter, and the Ford Angela that flies is just one of the most iconic movie cars ever. So the fact that they're getting a Harry Potter deal done is fantastic. And not only is it going to be a Matchbox, it's going to be a moving parts Matchbox. And it's going to be the first moving parts Matchbox that has multiple opening features. So it's going to have an opening trunk and an opening door, which will go perfectly to create those movie scenes where Ron's falling out of the car. Yeah, totally awesome choice. Let's go. Then we get the new generation of the Toyota Prius. This is one I was certain was a lock. It was in my prediction video. Actually predicted courtesy of Nick at Cars on Paper on Instagram. But yeah, the old Prius was a staple of the Matchbox line back in the 2000s. So it makes sense that they would bring it back with a new generation. This would be really cool. Cool to see the moving parts. I don't know what the moving part is going to be. Probably doors. I don't know anything else. But yeah, this will be fun. It also looks like we're getting a new electric Mini for moving parts. They didn't mention this in any of the presentations, which was weird. Anyways, it's getting an opening hood, it looks like. That's really cool, especially because it goes over the headlights. So the headlights show through the moving parts, which I think is awesome. The only other time they've employed this was for the mini Honda truck, like the T600, I think it was called. But yeah, this should be a fun one. Their Minis are really good, and this one should look nice, especially with the headlights through the hood. Cool touch. We follow that up with the 1973 BMW CSL, already in diecast form with an opening hood. We'll probably see this in the first mix of 2024. My only thought on this is it seems a little bit big in the box with it in its completed form. It seems that way. Maybe that's because they had to do a moving part opening hood. I don't know. It's hard to say until I really get it in hand. This is a little before the era of BMW and German cars I know a ton about. So I'm sure I'll do some research, watch a YouTube video or two, and I'll be super hyped for this one because I love Euro cars. Speaking of Euro cars and me loving them, this is one that is near and dear to my heart. Not because I've owned one or driven one, but because I think it is awesome. This is the Audi RS6 Avant. Of course, it makes a lot of sense for Matchbox to finally pull the trigger on this car. The old generation RS6 Avant was a classic for them in the 2000s. It is one of those premier golden era cars. It appeared everywhere, and now they're finally doing the new version. The Hot Wheels one is fantastic, so I'm glad instead of making this a mainline, they're doing moving parts, so it differentiates itself some with an opening trunk. This thing should be absolutely killer, absolutely awesome. I cannot wait for it. Another car that is coinciding or matching a previously great Hot Wheels casting, the Ford Focus RS. Hot Wheels has a 2016 one that is incredible in the main line. So how does Matchbox differentiate itself from the Hot Wheels version? They make it a moving part with an opening hood, which is almost certainly going to be fully tampoed and look absolutely rad. If they do this in the signature baby blue, maybe baby blue is a bit too light, but signature blue this car comes in, it is going to be so freaking awesome. What a great choice. We follow that up with another new Porsche, but this one is a throwback. The Porsche 356 is finally coming to the Matchbox range. It's going to have a rear opening hatch, which is pretty cool. Hopefully this thing is small. It looks a little big here, so I'm hoping it's small. But yes, more classic Porsches for Matchbox. Love to see that. They've done a bunch of the modern ones, going back to the old school days. No one's going to complain about that. This one should be awesome. Then we're getting a AMC Javelin. Personally, not a car. I'm not big into muscle or the American car scene in terms of what I like. So not one that I care about a lot. But based off how the Ford Mustang Boss 302 looked last year as a muscle car with the opening hood, I have no reason to believe that this will be any different, and it'll probably be fantastic. We follow that up with another vintage Bronco, and you're not going to hear me complain about two Broncos here. We're getting one in the regular mainline, one in moving parts, opening hood, two-toned rear. They're going to be significantly different, which is cool. If you're going to do two of basically almost the same car, that's the way to do it. This one looks freaking awesome. I'm sure it is going to be immediately very popular. And yeah, just a fantastic choice here. Love to see this in moving parts. And again, my hypocrite is going to pop out. This is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. Do I care about these mid-range SUVs? Typically, no. But as I said earlier, I love Alfas, and we're getting one of the moving parts. So, I mean, doubling up on Alfa SUVs, I'm very happy. I love the opening door on this one. I think it's fantastic. I cannot wait for it. I'm very, very excited to get both of these. We will also be getting a Convair ramp side truck that'll have that side opening ramp. This should be really cool. Gives me big Dodge D100 vibes, which is a great Matchbox casting. This is very similar in style to that, and I'm excited for it. It should look good. If it comes in a awesome paint scheme like this, you know, bright colors, I will be ecstatic for it. We are then getting a Land Rover Series 2 camper, which is frankly an absurd left field pick. We've had a lot of left field picks. This one is up there. We've talked all video about them. This one should be really fun. This is going to be a really creative and cool model. I look forward to seeing what Abe and the team do with this, because this is just something Matchbox makes, you know, every year you get a few like this, and this is one where they can really just do some really fun and cool stuff. I don't even know what the moving part could be on this one, but yeah, this one should be a lot of fun. We're then getting a 1969 Triumph Spitfire. I'm still not super familiar with the Triumph brand. It's something I'll have to familiarize myself with as Matchbox does more and more models, but I know a lot of the British collectors love the Triumph cars, and they were very excited about this one. And as they look to get that European influence, this will continue to be a brand we see utilized. A cool car. I'll have to do some research into it. Yeah. And of course, to round out the Matchbox new models for moving parts, we have an electric SUV, the Jaguar I-Pace. This one, again, is a fine choice. I like the look of this SUV a little more than some of the others. I think it's a bit sportier, even though it is kind of in that mid-size electric SUV range that I'm not, you know, super interested in. So this one should be fine. I'm glad to see the Jaguar license is still being utilized. Hopefully it's a sign of good things to come as Jaguar starts, I think, another brand refresh for like the 4th time in like 10 years, it feels like. But yeah, this one should be well executed. And last but not least, let's talk about the new premium models. This is the Mazda Savannah RX3. They've really been working the Mazda license as of late. We got the RX8 last year. We got an RX7 in moving parts last year as well, both new models. And now we're getting a Savannah RX3. Very, very cool, and a more stock version than the RX3 Hot Wheels has. So this should be a lot of fun, really cool. I am excited for this one. This one should be great. We're also getting an Audi A100 Coupe. Now, they didn't mention this at all outside of showing the model, so who knows if this will be premium moving parts or mainline, but this is cool. I like this a lot. I feel like when we see Audis, they always do the modern Audis. We don't ever do any throwbacks really with Matchbox for Audi. We don't get any classic Audis, it seems like, so getting this is really awesome. It should be really fun. Very early in stages, so hard to say what it'll look like, but yeah, cool choice. From there, we're going to bounce back over to Japan with the Toyota Celica GT. Matchbox is silently building a very, very nice JDM Japanese car catalog. Every year you get a couple models that are good. A lot of them I feel like going under the radar. This is one because it's premium. It wasn't on any of the sizzle reels. You might not hear talked about a lot, but this looks nice. It's going to be moving parts with an opening hood. So after premium, it can jump over to moving parts lines as well if it would like. Yeah. Great choice. And to keep speaking on that Japanese car fleet, we are finally getting a Stark BRZ from one of the Mattel brands. Hot Wheels did like the Drift BRZ, which was fine, but I have been waiting for a stock BRZ. If you saw my predictions video, I was practically begging to get a Subaru BRZ. I know I said I'm probably most excited about the Supra, but honestly, this might be it. Coming in collector 2024 Matchbox Subaru BRZ. I cannot wait. This looks good so far. It's already early in development. It's already in die-cast form, so we should see this in one of the first 2 mixes of the year. I cannot freaking wait for this. I cannot stress how excited I am. Yes, fantastic choice. It's about time. We've been waiting for this. Let's go. We're also going to get an Oldsmobile in premium this year. It'll have opening doors, so this can also move to opening parts. Don't have much to say on this one because, again, not the type of car I typically collect or am interested in, but this is a big, beefy muscle car, so you know there are going to be a lot of collectors out there who are happy about it. So, yeah, that's all I really got here. Moving on, not pictured or shown at the gathering, but announced, an Aston Martin V8 Vantage is coming to premium, and this is a 1977 model year, and I feel just like I did about the Audi A100, for this. This is an era of Aston Martin we don't ever see. We see all the modern stuff, and then when they do old school stuff, it is like way old school. It's like 50s race cars. So to do something in the middle, back when the V8 Vantage was just, you know, a big horsepower muscle type car, yeah, this is really cool. Really awesome choice, really unique choice. I'm happy to see this. And then rounding out the premium range and all the new models for 2024, the Mercedes-Benz EQS, also not shown. This is going to look better in diecast form. I'm not a big fan of the real life thing. I just think that grille looks so silly. It's like a Tampo but on a real life car. Obviously electric cars don't need grille because the motors don't need cooling, similar to what gas power needs. So to Tampo that, or to sticker that on there or paint that on there, it looks really dumb in my opinion. But it's going to look really good on Matchbox because that's how they do the grills for real life cars. They Tampo on, so fine choice. I don't really, you know, I'm not super excited about the car, but the Matchbox one will look great, and I'll definitely pick a couple up. And that is it. Those are all the new models for 2024. Sorry this video dragged out. It's over 30 minutes at this point. I think that's a blessing and a curse. The curse is this is a really long video. The blessing is this video is long because Matchbox is producing so many new models now across 3 fantastic die-cast lines. We're getting all kinds of stuff. Everything this year, with the exception of one model, is licensed. So that is the blessing. Matchbox is producing incredible stuff, which means it takes forever to talk about. But that's all for now, guys. Let me know what you're most excited for. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Peace.